Well, hey there, how are you today? My name is Carla. I am an adult doll collector, and you are in my hangout. And today, we're in my work table because it's time to build a nursery for the babies. This is part one of a several part build. Okay, so today, we're going to build the room, and then we're going to build the crib. That should be enough for part one, don't you think? So I have here 3 panels of the wooden, well, you could paint on them. And mine are, I can't remember how long they are. Let me get my ruler. Well, actually, I guess I can do that here. So mine are 12 by 16. I like them a little bit larger, I guess. So yeah, so what we're going to do, so I have one that's going to be the floor, and then we're going to make the one that's going to be one wall, and I'm going to glue the bottom of this, put some bunch of glue on the bottom. The wood glue will hold it much better than hot glue. So I'm going to put this at the end here. I'm going to put it on top. And I do want to make sure it's level. So there we go. Okay, and now I'm going to glue this over here. And fair warning, my ideal nursery might not be your ideal nursery. So bear with me. I'm going with what I think would be nice for me and what I have on hand here. So I did look in different stores for paper that I would like for a nursery, and I just didn't like any of them enough that I'd want to look at them frequently. I mean, they were cute, don't get me wrong. They were very cute. But, nah. All right, well, here's the beginning of a room. All right. I think I'm ready to paint it, but I don't want to paint it a dark. I want to go with something a little non-traditional. So I'm going to go with a kind of a linen color for the walls. I'm just going to pour some of this into the cup. And see how it goes. So I'm not going to paint the floor this color, just the walls. I think I'm going to start with this wall. And you get to see the mess I'm working with today. So here we go. So one of the things I do like working with a wood panel instead of the foam board is that you can paint it safely. You don't have to prep it with gesso or anything. You can just put the paint right on it. And I do like that freedom. So I'll just check back in with you when I painted a bit of it. Yep, still painting. Oh, but I'm almost finished with this one panel. And now to paint the other side. All right, so almost finished with this painting. So another bonus, I guess, of using the wood panels over foam board is You don't have to add as much trim work to cover for, you know, edges like you do with the foam board. Although making the trim work is fun. And honestly, I enjoy both. I would not want to do one over the other. I like the freedom of being able to do whichever one. All right. So, I mean, it isn't a big fancy difference. I realize that. I mean, it's almost the same color that it was before. All right, let's put the flooring down now. And I'm just going to use hot glue for. All right. Well, there's a couple little parts for it now. At least we have this part done. And we have a baby. There we go. We're done. What? That doesn't look done to you? Really? I should put more in there? Okay. Let's build a crib. Okay? We're going to build a crib for the baby. This poor little baby needs a real bed, right? So we're going to build one. Now, the first thing I have is I cut down 2 of these. They start off like this. And you can get a package of these at Walmart. They come with, it's a variety pack. It will have some of the square dowels and some of the round dowels. So I just took 2 of these square dowels and I cut them in half. I literally cut them in half. So I'm using the narrower one, but if you use the thicker ones, which are like this, that would be just as fine and might even look better. I'm going with the narrow one because I have plans for the thicker ones. So anyway, I took 2 of them and I cut them down to 6 inches each. And I'm going to leave those alone. Now I also have some of these more slender popsicle sticks. And let me compare. These are the regular popsicle sticks that you can get. And so these slender ones are about like this. And you can get these also in a Walmart. Okay, let me see if I can show you how big they are. So they're about a little less than half an inch wide. And about 4.5 inches long, but they're narrow. So what we're going to do is I already got started on one, and what I did is I call it laminating, which is where you're taking 2 pieces of wood and you're gluing them together. And then I'm holding it together with a whole bunch of these paper clips that you can get in the office supply section of pretty much everywhere. You could get them at the dollar store, at Family Dollar, at Walmart, at Target. They're because they don't have to be gold. They just have to be able to hold something tight. So this is what I have. This is what I'm using. So I have wood glue, and that's pretty much, you won't need any other glue except wood glue. If you must, you can use hot glue. However, hot glue is not fantastic at keeping a wood project permanently together. All right, I can show you things I made with hot glue and wood that then fell apart. Okay, the things I make with wood glue have not fallen apart. So what I'm going to do now is I just have this brush. This is my dedicated glue brush, and I'm just going to, you don't need a lot of glue. I'm just going to literally just kind of paint on the glue onto the stick. You want to go all the way down the stick, but you don't need it heavy. You really don't. When it comes to wood glue, a little goes a long way. It's also super easy to wash off. So if you get some on your hands, it's all right. You know, nothing terrible will happen. Once I have that painted, I'm going to get the two sticks kind of. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of rub them until what you do is with wood and wood glue is you kind of rub it until it stops moving. That's actually what we actually call it catching. And that means that the glue is, yeah, it's caught that wood. Now that it has caught where it doesn't want to keep moving around, I'm going to clamp all these parts together so you don't have gaps. Now, if you decide that you really don't want to bother clamping stuff, I mean, you can do this without this part. You don't have to clamp it. But you will have more gaps, and it won't look, you know, it will look better if you do this part, but won't be any big disaster if you don't. I mean, the main part is it's your project. You should have fun. So when you see, and in some of these I don't have, most of them I managed to go and get them kind of ready to clamp, but that's what I didn't. And I'm just kind of going along. I'm trying to make sure that everything is close together, and it looks like, see, this is a bigger gap than down here. So I'm going to put another clamp there. And however many clamps you need will vary. Basically clamp until it doesn't look like you need anymore. And I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. And you only need to do 2 of these and then ignore them for a while. Okay, there, we're done. And you can actually now put these smaller pieces away. They don't exist anymore. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to glue 4 of these popsicle sticks side by side. This looks nice and even, so I'm going to put this on here. And then I'm going to glue the other 2 on as well. And we're going to do 2 sets of 4. And you mostly just want to make sure they're all nice and close together. They don't have to be perfectly aligned because we're going to be removing the curved parts. So if it isn't perfectly lined up at the top, it's no biggie because you're not going to be using the top. We're going to be using the meat of it in the middle. There we go. And now I'm just going to kind of slide this over like so. And I'm going to let that. And I'm going to do the next set of 4. These are going to be the ends of the crib. So now I intentionally looked for supplies that you can get from, you know, the Family Dollar or a Walmart or some kind of place like a Walmart that has a lot of, you know, kind of an all-in-one store where you can have access to crafting supplies. All right, let's build a crib end. I got one done already. So here's one part of it. And of course, I have everything all clamped together. Now we're going to build this end. And the lovely thing about popsicle sticks is you can cut them with scissors. So I measured across 3 3/4 inches. When I post this, I'm going to have to make sure I include the centimeters. Yeah. So I have this measured out at that length. So I'm cutting off the you know. And this might fall apart. If it does, it's no biggie, okay? Because you'll be holding it all together soon enough. And I'm going to cut right on my line.
Okay, I did find something for that address. It's under a different name.
There's one side. And then we do the same on the other.
Okay, I see here. Well, let me look into this. Well, here. So what I see here, though, it looks like back on in August of 2023, it looks like they signed up for a credit account. I know the way they did it was it looks like they did it with one of
There you go.
the
Now I've taken a few of these slender sticks. And these are at 5.5 inches by a quarter, and then here's the centimeters as well. Okay, so they're quite slender. And I'm also cutting these down to 3 3/4 inches, or once again, however many centimeters that is. And once again, because this wood is so slender, I'm going to just cut right on the line on this. And I'm going to cut 4 of these down to that length. I wish I could tell you I have a lot of uses for these ends, but so far I don't. So don't worry about saving them. You probably won't be needing them. All right, now that I have these 4 cut, what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue them on these ends here. So one on one side, one on the other. Once again, you don't have to be over liberal with the wood glue, but you do want enough for it to, catch. And then you're going to glue it right to the very end of it. And I want to make sure it kind of already starts. So I'm going to, once I glue this down, I'm going to clamp it down. Mostly just want to clamp it down on the end. Then I'm going to do the same thing on this end. So once again, if some of this part in the middle kind of falls apart a little bit, it's not that big of a deal. Believe it or not, at this point, it's okay. So once again, get it all the way to the edges. Then I'm going to clamp this end down. And I'm going to clamp the other end down. And as you can see, it's kind of trying to buckle. And that's no big thing, because we have some more of these. And what I'm going to do is I've cut off the end of one piece. And I can't give you an exact measurement, unfortunately, because I found it works better instead of pre-cutting these all to a certain degree. I have found that they work better if I measure them out by eye, each individual one. So that's what I'm doing. So I want this to fit in here, and I want that to be like this. Okay. Now I'm going to cut that down. And I'm going to cut on the line. It isn't important whether you cut on the line, before one side of the line, or after one side of the line. The important part is every time you cut around a line, that you know you're making those cuts in a particular place every time. So if you're going to cut before a line, then every time you cut something with the line, you're going to cut before the line. And the same thing with the after. It's as long as you are consistent, that's the part that matters. See, and then we're going to do the same thing at the top. And as you can see, this is what's going to hold the middle part together. And for me, I know I'm cutting on the line each time. Am I always going to get a perfect cut? This is me, folks. No. On this, I am not always going to get a perfect cut. But that's okay. I get perfect enough. And then but we do want it to be nice and snug on the inside. That's why we're not pre-cutting it ahead of time. We're measuring it. If I was going to give a guess, my nice handy dandy, very old. If I was going to give a guess, it's just shy of 2 inches. Now, what we're going to do is we turn this over, and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay, and now we clamp the bologna out of this thing. So any parts like this, we want to make sure we have it clamped. You might think you need to add more glue, but odds are all you need is to have it clamped down. Okay, I'm going to put a clamp at the very top and bottom. And I might as well put one in the middle there. Honestly, you can't have too many clamps. I'm going to tell you that now, okay? Better more than not enough. And now we're going to just put this aside and ignore it. There, it doesn't exist for a little while. Well, I'm waiting for some of those to set. I have a bucket of these wooden bead tubs. I got them at, in Walmart. You can get them once you get all kinds of crafting areas will have these. These are the wooden ones. They have the variety of sizes. It doesn't really matter which size you pick out and which shape. I've picked the smallest ones compared to the average size. I'm taking the small ones, but you can take whichever size you want. And I have some 60 grit sanding paper. And I'm going to be using that because what I want to do is the same thing I did on this. Is I took this bead and I sanded it down on both sides, just a little bit, just to make it less round. And because they're so small, I can't really hold on to it very well. So I'm putting it on a skewer. Just that way I can hold on to the skewer while I sand the bead. And I'm literally only going to go over it a few times. See, really just enough to flatten it a bit on the bottom. Oops. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the other side of it. Though you don't really have to, but since I've done it, I'm going to do 4 where they're flattened on both sides. So really, I guess we're going over 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I guess 8 times going over it. So if you want to go by my count, go ahead. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. Yeah, that was both sides. Then one more bead where I'm doing both sides of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There we go. These are going to be the beads. I'll be using those on the bottom. And then these, I want to keep one end rounded. So I'm just going to sand, one side on these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I'm going to put those in this little container so I'll know that they're for a different part of this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, now remember these that we laminated in the very beginning? We're going to trim this down to fit across the top of this. So I've already cut down one side, and now I'm going to cut the other. And I'm going to cut it with this handy dandy thing. Hey, no. Sorry. We have a new family member. He's wicked cute. Hey. But you don't get to eat those. Yes, go eat Adrian's shoes. Go on. So anyway, I'm going to put this in here. Measure it up. I love this thing. Now I'm going to use some of the 60 grit sandpaper, and I'm going to sand the sides real quick though. And remember, the lower the number on the sandpaper, the more well, I call it the meat, the more wood will come off. It's meant to take off more. This is meant to be a starting kind of sandpaper. And I'm going to do the edges as well. If I say ouch on occasion, this is a young puppy. No eating the grandma. No. Psst, nope. There you go.
Really remorseful.
There, it should look somewhat like this. Then we're going to glue this to here. And what I'm going to do is, before I do any gluing, I'm also going to sand the edges of this. You don't need to go whole hog. Just a little bit of a light sanding on the edges should be enough. There. And I'm going to glue, so I'm going to, this time I am going to paint the glue onto the top edge. And I'm going to try to glue it so it's pretty much in the middle. So you can pretty much eyeball it, so you want to make sure it's all the way to the edge. And then kind of slide it around until it grabs, where it stops moving around so much. And then you can even it up. And there. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to take two of, I've got to find my other one. There we go. We're going to take two of the 4 original posts, and I'm looking for the part that was pre-cut before me, and I want that to be on the bottom, because that's probably going to be more squared off. So what I did is I drew arrows to let me know I want this at the top. There we go. Here are my arrows. Yay! See? Now I'm going to paint some glue along the edge here. I don't know why I painted the whole thing, because it isn't going to need to be painted along that whole thing, but that's what I did for no good reason, okay? Then make sure my arrow is up, and I'm going to bring it right to where it's level with the top there, and it's going to be level like so. Now one side, this will be flush. You're going to have flush. The other side, there'll be a slight rise. Just make sure that when you do that, make sure both sides are flush on the same side. Let's see if I remember not to paint that whole part up there. Aha! There we go. I remembered. Again, I have my arrow pointing up, so I know I want that at the top. And this is my flush side, so I'm making sure this side is also flush. You can kind of let it be like that for a bit. I'm going to kind of try to clamp everything again. I just want to clamp it so that kind of pulls it. Okay. And we're going to put this aside for a while and ignore it. Okay, this is pretty much all, it's pretty much good to go. Now I have it turned, the side that's all flush, I have it up. I'm going to add one detail to this. You don't have to do this. You can skip it. I'm doing it because I like it. But like I said, you don't have to. You could entirely skip this part. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to take one of these sticks, these slender ones again, and I'm going to bring it so it's at the corner. So it's kind of running straight down. So it's at the corner of one side here, and then down here. I'm going to draw a line. And I'm going to do the same thing at the top here. And then I'm going to cut this, following, basically just trying to make sure I cut from line to line. And the same thing with this part. There. Then I'm going to glue this down in here. For me, it gives a little more contact to kind of hold things in place. Now, I'm only doing it on one side, and that is the side that is flush. That will be the outside of the crib for me. It also just gives a little detail. But, you know, like I said, this is something, if you want to do it, you can do it. And if you don't want to do it, that's okay too. You do want to fit snug, so I'm trying to make sure that this is all the way in on one side and all the way in on the other. Okay. And you might be wondering what we do on the other side then, right? And now I'm going to take this. I'm going to take that little thing off. I don't really need it on there right now. Okay, so you can take these off if they're in your way, because you don't really need them anymore. Everything's pretty much in place. There you go. So can you see what I'm trying to do here? So now on this one, I'm going to draw a line so it's kind of going straight down here, straight-ish. Then I'm going to draw the line over here. And I'm going to cut this part. And then glue it in place. And what I want is I want this to go in like so. So the corners are kind of meeting, well, like that. I'm going to put this in. And I can't give you an exact measurement because, again, this is one of those things that works better if you measure it as you go. Then, see, this part was cut from here, so I'm just going to go with that. And then I'm going to, again, draw a line down. I'm going to cut. And then glue. Always double check the side that you're putting down before you actually glue it down. Don't ask me how I know this. And that's what it should look like. Now I'm going to clamp some of these down again though, because we want them to stay put. Gets a little harder with some of them. Some of these longer ones, I have some longer clamps, and I'm going to use these for that. There. And I'm going to put this aside. It's time to build the side, one of the sides of the crib. So I have 4 of these, so the slightly more slender popsicle sticks as compared to these. So these are the slender ones. The same ones we use to go on the top of the crib ends. Then you're going to want 11 for the little panel sides. I don't know what else to call them. And then you're going to want an additional 2 more. The first thing I want to do is I'm going to cut these 4 down to 4 inches. And I'm going to use my mat to measure this because I think it'll just be a little bit easier for me. So I'm going to line these 4 up. And do the same thing on the other side. And then I'm going to cut off these little ends with my handy dandy scissors. Okay, so we have these. We're going to cut 2 of these long thin ones also at 4 inches. Okay, and then these we want to cut down, get 11 of these cut down to 3 inches. And unfortunately, you can't get 2 out of these, so yeah, that kind of sucks. But that is what it is. And again, I'm just going to line up a bunch. Okay, and then trim all these down. And you like I said, you want to make sure you have 11. I think I have 11. 1, 2. Cut them all down.
How much are the boxes? Or Ava can go. When can I buy them?
Remember when we cut this down, cut off the ends for this? I hope you saved them. You're going to need these because you're going to use these as spacers. So the next part we're going to do, we're going to take 2 of these, and we're going to, I'm once again going to use my mat, and I'm going to put one about here, you know, wherever on there. And I'm going to put this other one about 3 inches below. And what we're going to do, we're going to take these and we're going to glue these into here. So just kind of glue one end and then another end. And the first ones I think are the biggest pain in the neck, so I'm going to glue it so the top is at the top and along the edge here. Then you want to do the same thing with the bottom part. Like I said, the first part I found to be the most annoying. Now we're going to glue another one to the other end. Okay, I'm going to glue this in on the end here. Try to make sure you got it all in your square. And that's looking pretty good. I'm going to let that set for just a moment. Okay, now I'm going to take one of these little spacers. And for me, they don't stand up perfectly the whole time, but that's okay. I'm going to... And if you get some glue around in here, that's okay. Try, you know, because I do have a solution for that. And then you want to kind of make sure the other piece doesn't get moved out while you're putting the one in, down to make sure it's all the same. And I'm going to leave that in there. I'm going to put it in the other spacer over here. And I'm going to put in the next little post thing. And on this part, I know I keep saying, you know, try to work, you know, you want to watch how much glue you get around. Believe it or not, on this little part here, you don't have to worry as much about that. In this part here, I know. So if you want to be a mite bit sloppy, you can be. And now that part's in, I'm just going to move this over. And I'm just going to repeat that all the way down. Okay, so you've got all these done, right? Now we're going to, if you remember, we cut 2 of these down to 4 inches. So we're going to glue this, and I'm actually just going to paint the glue on the whole board. Okay? And this first one, I'm going to glue down to the very top of this. So I want to be flush with the outside and with the top. Bring it along. I'm going to kind of wiggle a little bit just to make sure the glue catches, and it did. If you're having a problem with the glue, with your stuff wiggling around, kind of wiggle the wood around on it so it will, until it catches. And once you have it where it's pretty much flush on every end, there we go. I am going to kind of push this down. There we go. I'm going to clamp this. The clamping is a very important part of making sure these things hold together. Then you do the same thing on this end. I'm going to wiggle this until the glue catches. And then I'm going to clamp it. Then clamp the other end as well. Just make sure you've got your clamps going all the way along. As many as you need to make sure all of the wooden parts are connecting. Okay, I'm going to put this aside. Okay, let's make the mattress platform now. So what I've done is I've taken 4 of the regular size popsicle sticks and I've cut them down to 4 inches long on each one. And then I took another one of the popsicle sticks and I cut out 2 parts of it that are, well, what I did is I measured all 4 of the popsicle sticks together. Then I cut these down to the same width. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a bunch of glue on this one, and I'm going to glue that, and I'm just going to keep going along like so. I'm going to flip it over. Then I'm going to glue the bottom part to this part. It isn't going to be really seen by anybody, so it doesn't have to be all perfect and pretty. I mean, if you want to make it perfect and pretty, that's excellent. Mine will not be. All right. And once again, though, you do want to clamp it so it stays, because you do want these, you know, you're not going to go to all the trouble for this just to have things fall apart later on, right? There. All right. I'm going to add a little bit more of the trim now to the bed rail here. So take off the clamps. And remember, we have these 2 that we cut down. So I'm going to put some glue along the top. Okay. And now where I have the shorter one, you have the tall one here, and then the shorter one. What I'm going to do is I want this to be laying down, and I'm going to put this where it's going to be. I have one of these sticks, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to push this up against there. And I'm going to keep it there for a few minutes. Okay, and then do the same thing on the other side. We're almost done. And I'm just going to hold it there in place for a little bit. That's really all you can do is hold it in place. Okay, let's put this together. So what I'm doing is, since this is my outside, I'm going to have this laying down. And what I have planned is for this part with the thinner part, it's going to be the inside. And this is the outside. So I'm going to put some glue on this on one of these edges here. Here. And all along on here. Then I'm going to, on this one with the outside facing down, I'm going to glue this so this is flush with the bottom of this. And this part is kind of flush with that. And I'm going to have to hold it there for a moment. Going to do the other thing, going to do the same thing on this side. Paint some glue. And hold it there. And remember the mattress podium? We're going to put this in next. So I'll put some here. And the same thing on this side. And I'm going to kind of slide this in here. Now, before we put on the end, I'm going to clamp this part. And I'm going to clamp the other side. I'm going to let that sit like that for a few minutes. Okay, you should only really need to leave the clamps for this part on for about maybe 15 minutes. Now we're ready to put on the other side of the crib. So again, we're going to paint the glue around here. Now for this part, I am going to stand it up because we want to make sure that it also be, level with each other. So do you want this to come down to here? Okay. Now at this point, think I'm going to use this basket of beads as a weight. I'm going to just kind of let that sit for a while. I'm going to move it aside carefully. Let's finish the crib. Okay, so remember these that we sanded down a little bit in the very beginning? We're going to glue these to the bottoms of the crib. So I'm just going to turn the crib upside down, and we're going to glue those on. I know they look odd right now, but once you paint your crib, it'll be perfect. Now I'm going to carefully, there we go, turn it around. And then the other ones, where I only sanded one side, I'm going to put on the other parts of this crib. So I'm going to put one on the top of this post here. And I'm putting the side that I sanded down on the top of it. And here we go. Last one. Now, once this dries, you can paint it or stain it or whatever floats your boat. I'm going to paint it. Okay, while the crib is drying, I'm going to, let's make the mattress. So I cut out a piece of, paperboard from leftover packaging. And I have some foam I'm going to use as well. All right, so I have this, and I'm going to hot glue this. First of all, I'm going to fold it over. Now I'm going to hot glue the quilting stuff to the paperboard. There we go. And now a few years ago, I made a quilt for my granddaughter when she was a baby. And I have this teensiest little patch left over from it. So I'm going to use this for the mattress cover because, well, it's too small to use for much of anything else. So it's going to get used for this. All right, so here's the mattress pad. I know it's kind of mismatched, but it has meaning for me because my granddaughter slept in the quilt that was made from the rest of this. Let's put some pictures on the walls in here. Now, I cut out a bunch of little pieces that I thought could work together. And I know they don't really work with this, but it kind of does. So that's why I wanted the walls plain. I thought it might be neat to let the decorations in the room perk it up. So first of all, going to add this one. I'm just going to use hot glue on it. I'm going to put that kind of like right in the middle there. And you make every day sweeter. I think I'm going to put that right here. And this one I think I'm going to put right beside it. Kind of like so. And I'm going to put this one right about like so. And of course we have the mattress thing. Let's go check on the crib. Okay, so this is the end of this video, and I appreciate you joining me. Well, we got to make a beginning of the nursery room where we painted it a neutral color. We got to put some artwork on the walls and some flooring down, and we got to build a crib. So I went with kind of a shabby chic kind of work on the crib because I wanted it to look I didn't want it to look brand new. Does that make sense? So anyway, but this is how it all came out. This is how it looks when it's all painted. And let me take this window down. And we have the baby inside. So, and let's get a Barbie up next to it. Just a moment. All right, and here's how it scales with the Barbie. And I think it does. I think it's a good height. So, yeah. So what do you guys think, huh? All right, well, if you like this video, please hit like. If you're a subscriber, thank you very much for being a subscriber. And if you're not a subscriber, well, what are you waiting for? Hurry up and subscribe. I've got a subscribe button right there in the corner. It says subscribe, and you just have to, boop, touch it, and you're subscribed. It's so easy. And so, and I love my subscribers. If you're a subscriber, then I get to love you. See how wonderful that is? Now, definitely comment down below. Let me know what you think of this. I know I didn't go with a traditional nursery colors with, and trust me, I love all of them. So it was, but I decided to go with this because I guess just reasons. Yeah. So, and tell me what you think of the crib. All the parts of this crib are made with things that you can get at any store that sells craft kinds of items, including dollar stores or any, you don't have to go to any place special. You do not have to find a Hobby Lobby to get the parts for this crib. You just need wood glue and these, and you are golden. Let me know if the directions were too complicated, or if they were, or if they were clear. Sharing is caring, and so go ahead and share this video because, and I know that right now, people are probably are interested in making cribs for these new babies that are coming out. So yeah, so go ahead and share this video in case someone wants to make a little crib for their little baby. And she does look so cute in there. There she is again. Yep, little baby. So anyway, again, thank you very much for stopping by, and I hope that you're having a fantastic day, fantastic morning, noon, or night. Just you get the idea. I want to be fantastic. And I'm going to let you go now, and I'm out of here, so goodbye.